So the next round we're going to do is memorable scenes. So pick something from this film that you think stands out, that takes it above all the rest. I want to start with Rocky IV. I want to know which of the montages or which of the dramatic speeches you're going to pick.
Yeah. There's so many in this movie, right? There's so many in this movie. I don't know where to start. But the first in the movie being when Carl Weathers is trying to convince Sylvester Stallone, Apollo Creed's trying to convince Rocky to coach him for that final fight against Drago. And he's saying how we're fighters. This is something that's in our instincts. You can't just switch it on and off like a radio. It's something that's built inside you. Cars, houses, all these things you can have. But what's really inside you, you can't change what you are. And we're fighters, we're warriors. And if there's no war to fight, then the warrior might as well be dead. And that is so true, because as a fighter in real life, if you feel like there isn't a war, if you feel like there isn't something to tackle, you don't have that. It's not the same. You do feel like a part of you is missing. It does spur you on. So that's like one of the first, I'd say, big speeches in the movie that's very important. Then moving forward, you got Rocky talking to his wife about how he's going to take the fight. She's saying that
on the stairs.
Yeah, they're on the stairs. She's saying he's going to kill you. It's suicide. He's saying, listen, I'm a fighter. This is what... He was basically repeating what Apollo said to him, and now he's lost his friend. He's just kind of bringing that back in and saying, look, this is me. This is who you married. This is what I do. I have to do it.
Really interesting to hear that perspective of it, because to me, Rocky IV feels like the opposite of Raging Bull, where like Raging Bull feels like it's exploring the idea of the obsessive reason to want to get into, like, who is the sort of person who wants to get into a ring and punch another person or be punched by another person. And Rocky IV's turning it into a little bit of a, this is just who I am type of thing.
This is what we do. And even admitting to his son, there's a scene in Rocky IV, he's admitting to his son that he does get a little bit scared sometimes, and he does think, why is this guy hitting me? But then there's a part of him again that goes one more round, that wants to take a bit more, he wants to push. And that is, when he was saying that, it was like, it's true. As a fighter, every fighter will tell you there's a time they want to get out the ring. But there's also that part of them that's like, go on, do it again. One more round, let's go. And just to have that in the movie.
Joe, you look like you've got some opinions.
It's just the issue for me with the whole Rocky thing. It's just like a superhero movie where it's like you just go in and Rocky's going to win at the end. You can have all of these great speeches and stuff like that, but how much weight does it have when we know Rocky's just going to win? Like,
well, that's like saying you can't make a Floyd Mayweather movie because he's never lost. It's just one of those things. It's like, it's not about the result, I think, in Rocky. It's about the journey. It's about how he gets there.
If it wasn't about the result, he wouldn't win every fight.
Because I don't want to just gang up, but but there is something about, especially Rocky IV, where it's like, I want to fight this man. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't fight that man. I'm going to. That man kills him. Then Rocky goes, I'm going to fight that man now. And then he beats him. And it just feels like it's like, it doesn't feel like any of the emotion for me lands the way that maybe it was intended to, or the way that they thought about it, because it does feel a little bit, I don't know, like it's superfluous. And it's just like to get to the fights that they want to have. Like they want to have the American fight the Russian. How do we do it? How do we do that? I guess the Russian should kill Apollo Creed, and then now we can have them fight each other.
It's a thing where Rocky was in retirement. He wasn't interested in fighting no more, and the fact that his friend died was the extent it had to go to for him to return to the ring, because the death of your friend is a huge motivator. It would be a huge motivator for you to then step in and say, I have to avenge this. I have to do something about this. And I feel like creating that plot and creating that story, for me, it did hit home. It did hit home because you would want to avenge your friend, and you wouldn't want this guy. You would want to go to his backyard. You would want to go to where he's from and prove the point even more.
I feel you, and I feel like you're coming from the boxer's perspective. But if you want to talk about the best scene in Rocky IV, it's the line, if he dies, he dies. You should have just went with that. Like it's as corny as the whole movie.
I mean, for me, it's the development from, we've had the Rocky stairs, so now let's have the Rocky mountain.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
And like, I mean, I remember the first time that I hadn't seen Rocky IV before I saw the parody of Rocky IV in Family Guy, where Brian does it and then goes to the top of the mountain and yells, Drago! And so when I eventually saw it in real the real movie, I was like, oh, that is just as silly as
I watched it yesterday, and I pushed that out of my mind instantly. Like I was trying to forget it.
No, I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's what it symbolizes as well, and I understand. We got to remember the two movies that I'm going up against, which I did think about, are biopics, so they're gonna be very realistic as their biopics. But for this movie to not be one, there is gonna be things that are a bit more dramatic in there and a bit more for your entertainment, as well as symbolizing. I've gone to Russia. I've overcome certain things in my life. Yeah, I've run the stairs, but to beat this guy, it's gonna be a big climb.